Hey guys, this is going to be another commentary video for Commentary Monday. So I went to a tournament recently in Dreamworld Collectibles, which is going to be located in Santa Barbara. They do Edison tournaments once a month, so whenever they have their tournaments, I decided to go over there because it's much closer to where I live than than going to Los Angeles. But I digress. So here we have a matchup where I take a completely fun deck. I decided to take an Earth Toolbox deck that splashes X-Sabers in the deck. I think X-Sabers has a really good grind game. The only problem with X-Sabers is that it's too grindy. It doesn't really have plays until you have a perfect setup. So I decided to play the Earth Toolbox deck or the Earth Toolbox engine and combine it with the X-Saber. You'll see in a minute how I play these games. I also noticed that a lot of my games that I upload on this channel are games of me winning. So I'm gonna have some games where I lose too. So you guys don't think like that every game I play is like perfect. So here's a game where I do lose as a spoiler. But I'm still going to go through the thought process of what I had in my mind and what I could have done differently and stuff like that. So, yeah. So I'll also have the calculator as well. So I'll have the calculator on here on the side, and I'll be calculating life points, just so you guys know. On the left side will be their life points, and then on the right side will be mine. Actually, I'm going to do it differently, where it's like 8,000, 8,000. Yeah. So that'll be our life points. Okay, so let's start the video. So I win the die roll here, and I draw a handful of monsters. So one of the weaknesses of this deck is that it plays a little bit over 20 monsters. So I think it was 22 monsters. So you're gonna have the ratios work against you sometimes, where you draw mostly monsters. So in this case, I drew all monsters, and that's typically what you don't want. You want a healthy amount of monsters and spells and traps. Okay, so I start my turn, I set a monster, and I'm playing against, I believe, I didn't know what he was on, so it was I was going in blindsided. So I believe I set a giant rat, hoping that he would attack the monster and thinking it was a Raikou. But what he does instead, he normal summons Grand Mole. Let me see if I can lower down the volume here. So he normal summons Grand Mole here, and he bounces back the monster because he wants to set up his Gore's play if I do decide to attack directly. Because in his hand he has like a pretty gas hand, Grand Mole, and then once Grand Mole bounces and I attack directly, he drops Gores, and then he has a Greffer with a Malicious with Miracle Fusion. So pretty intense combo hand for sure. So the Grand Mole definitely helped him survive this one. The Earth Toolbox deck, if he were to actually attack the Giant Rat, I would be able to special summon Rescue Cat, which is what I love about this deck. Giant Rat into Rescue Cat allows me to do a lot of good plays. So I start my turn off, and I immediately summon the Airbellum, hoping to basically bait out the Gores. But in hindsight, this was a bad play. I was hoping he didn't have Gores because I opened a handful of monsters. So I declared an attack with the Airbellum, and then he takes 1600 damage. Let me do the life points. Okay, so that's the life points. So yeah, I probably asked him if he has any Battle Fader, because I have no idea what he's playing. So here he is a returning Edison player. So if I Airbell him and I use the battle damage ability, my Airbellum will be chain link 1, and he could have chained Gores to Airbellum's effect to discard. So this way I don't hit the Gores out of his hand. Oh yeah, he loses his. So he doesn't have Spine Gilman that he owns. He actually borrowed this deck, so this was supposed to be a Spine Gilman. Because this card right here is not legal for Edison, so yeah, I pretty much excuse it, like whatever. Even though it is an official tournament, I didn't mind too much. Because I'm doing this for content, I'm not doing this to win by default. I put both the Gores and the token in attack mode, and I look at my hand, I see a Mind Control. There's really nothing that I can synchro with. Gothams is a level 9 monster, or synchro monster, so I just pass. So I'm hoping he didn't draw gas, but unfortunately he does draw a ton of gas in his opening hand. So what he does, he normal summons Greffer here, discards the Malicious here, and I'm pretty sure I get OTK'd. So he dumps the Plague Spreader Zombie. Pretty gas hand for sure. So here's a perfect example of a game where there was really literally very little things that I could have done. Attacking with the Airbellum was just infinitely correct because it's very unlikely that this particular deck would have all the combination pieces in his hand to do a lot of lethal damage. But what are you gonna do? Sometimes in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, you do the safest play and you still get punished. So I mean, you still lose. So he top decks for Plague here, and then he banishes Malicious to special summon Malicious, and then he makes his, I believe he makes Colossal Fighter. I think he anticipates that I was going to have Gores, so Colossal Fighter is better against the Gores. Yeah. So he makes Colossal Fighter using the Malicious here with the Plague Spreader Zombie. And then I think he missed Lethal here, if I remember correctly.
See what I mean? You got no. Return Urbina. Refresh my memory. And then summoning out Toucan to oh, and this is because I summoned out also banished. Toucan to add you know.
He makes Classify here, and then he goes quickly into battle phase. He does hold the Miracle Fusion. I have no idea why, but maybe he's afraid of Gores. So he could have used Miracle Fusion to banish the Malicious with the Spine Gilman in the graveyard to make absolute 0, and that would have been lethal. So instead, I survived by I believe 100 or 700 life points, one of those two. Do the damage here. So let's do the damage. So on the left side, that's me. I'm going to be taking 100 from the Greffer to the Airbellum, and then I take the 1600 from the token, and then I take the 27 from the Gores, and then I take the 29 from the Classifier. So I'm at 700 life points after this. So if he had used Miracle Fusion, I would have been dead. I check his monster. Yeah, Classifier does gain the 100 attack points from the from both players' graveyard. We'll skip to my turn. So with the so for turn I drew Fossil Dyna, and still I'm drawing monsters after monsters. But I considered Fossil Dyna setting it. However, if I set the Fossil Dyna, he can simply attack with the bigger monsters because I'm pretty sure he's going to be afraid of any big monsters that I might set. So he's definitely not going to attack with the Greffer. So I was deeply afraid that he was going to attack with any of the monsters besides the Greffer first. Fossil Dyna would destroy all the monsters, but Greffer would be left standing there, and I only have 700 life points. So instead of giving him free information, I decided to scoop. I also considered the Giant Rat line, but Giant Rat puts the monster in attack mode, and unfortunately that's not enough. And that was also the Ember's Blade line, which only gets me the full home knight to negate an attack. So I instantly just scoop. So let's go to game 2. Alright, so game 2, I elected to go first, and I draw a healthy amount of monsters and spells and traps. So I decided to set Hamster, I believe, or Ember's Blade. Yeah, I set the Hamster here in case he attacks. I jokingly banter like, did you draw your Grand Mole again? And he laughs a little bit, and then he just takes his turn. So he still has a Dust Shoot in game 2 because he does not have a side deck, and I do have side deck, but I decide not to side deck if he doesn't side deck. So he sets a Snowman here with Dust Shoot, and he passes over here, and I draw for turn, and I draw Mind Control. He Dust Shoots me, and then he chooses my Full Home Knight. He chooses my Tuner out of my hand, so I can't take his monster and synchro with it. So I'll put the Full Home Knight back to the deck. Okay, so here I considered using Mind Control, but if it was a monster that wasn't a tuner, I'm guessing it wasn't worth it because I would just keep it for only one turn. So in my mind, I thought maybe it's a monster that wants to be attacked. If it is so, then I should just either set a monster and pass. And that's definitely what I should have done, but instead I summoned the Ember's Blade and attacked the monster. And I did not anticipate it was going to be an Ember's Blade. I also anticipated that if I had just set the Ember's Blade, he could have distributed his monster, which was a Sangan, for a Caius. So I weighed both those options, and I definitely did not want to be Caius. So instead I summoned the Ember's Blade and attacked into a potential Sangan. And then here I take 600 damage. Let's do the life points. I take 600 because the 1900 is defensive Snowman Eater, and Ember's Blade is 1300. And I still have my giant rats or my hamster set. I chose not to flip it over because there was no point. I was gonna wait for him to attack me first. So he draws return and he draws a Diva. And instead of waiting, he decides to summon the Diva, I believe, to make a synchro play. So this play to me was pretty odd, but essentially what he tried to do was he synchro into Catastor, and then he attacks with the Diva first. So very odd. But I think I see why he was going for this play, because in the event that it was an Ember's Blade or a giant rat, Diva can flip over the card and he'll take the damage, and then since my monster requires to be destroyed by battle, then Catastor can just get rid of the monster. I'm pretty sure that was his line of play here. So he takes a 16 damage, but instead it was a hamster. So I commend him on this play because this play was actually pretty good to deal with result of battle destructions. And it made sense because the set was pretty stale. I didn't flip it. It was there for the first turn of the game. Okay, destroys the hamster, and now I have a Raikou set. And here I think he sets the torrential here because he wants me to destroy it, which was pretty smart, because if I chose to destroy anything else and I commit to a play, then torrential can just flip over. So I draw a Full Helm Knight back, even though it was dust shooted. So now I have the ability to synchro with Catastor. So I decide to flip the Raikou to destroy his back row. And then I mill a X-Saber monster. So now my Gotham's Emergency Call is live, which is why you play Raikou in this deck. I decided to take his Raikou, or his... No, actually, so in Edison, X-Saber Wayne wasn't legal. I fully wanted to synchro the Raikou into a level 5 synchro. But no, there's no level 5 synchro that it was worth it unless it was X-Saber Wayne, because I needed X-Saber monster face up on the field to activate Gotham's Emergency Call. And since I didn't have X-Saber Wayne and it wasn't legal, I decided just to summon the Full Helm Knight and attacked over the Diva. There's also no level 5 other than Catastor. If I made Android, Catastor could just kill the Android, and I didn't see it was worth it. The other play I could have done was summon the Full Helm Knight, mind control, and take the Catastor, and pretty much make a level 8 synchro. I considered that option as well, but I think I decided to go for the Gob's Emergency Call play because it garnered me more bodies on the board. I simply attacked the Diva. He takes 1100. And if he swings with Catastor, I can just negate with Full Helm Knight, and then end phase I can flip over the Emergency Call to bring out the Ember's Blade from the graveyard. So he draws return. He draws Caius here. Here he decides to normal summon Alias. So the Diva Hero list usually doesn't play Alias, so he was playing a lot of 1-ups for sure, and the 1-ups were doing a lot of work for him, such as Grand Mole. So he summons the Alias here. He baits the attack. I negate the attack, and then Alias runs over the Full Helm Knight here.
It's only once ever.
Okay, so I take this on battle. I activate Gotham's Emergency Call. A replay rule begins, and he can choose to cancel the attack or choose a different attack target. He still attacks the Full Helm Knight. I take 600 damage here. I should probably do some life points. I take another 600 damage, and I'm at 6,800. Oh, also he takes 11 from the full home knight to the Diva. Okay, he passes over here, no back row, so I feel pretty safe, even though I have Heavy Storm. I draw a Barrier Statue of the Drought. I play this because Giant Rat can fetch it if it gets destroyed by battle. So the play with the Giant Rat, the reason why I play the Recruiters, is that I play Creature Swap in this deck at 2. The idea is if they have a big monster, I can Creature Swap my Giant Rat with the big monster on the field. I attack over the Giant Rat with their big monster, and then I special summon Barrier Drought, and then ideally I can set a back row. That's why I play it. So now I drew the Barrier Statue rather than fetch it from the Recruiter, and then I had the consideration to normal summon it and basically lock my opponent out of playing. Yeah, so I put my Ryko to defense mode, and unfortunately I don't have a synchro play because there's no tuner on the board or in my hand. So I have to either flip the Emerald's Blade to attack position, attack over the Alias and bring out a tuner, and then Mind Control, main phase 2. Take the Catastor and then synchro with the Catastor. And unfortunately, in this particular X-Saber list, or Synchro deck, I only play one Full Hom Knight. But if I had played 2 Full Hom Knight, I could have crashed both my Emerald's Blade into the Alias, get a Full Hom Knight, and then get another tuner. And then from there, I can Mind Control the Catastor, Synchro for Stardust, and then my Stardust can be, my Barrier Statue can be negate an attack. So I can negate an attack to the Barrier Statue. So I go for this play where I just crash one Emerald's Blade, and I take the 600 damage here. Go to 62. Okay, then I bring out the Air Bilm, and then there's no monster on the field that can run over Alias, so then I just go to main phase 2. And then I Mind Control his Catastor here. And then I make a Stardust. I'm pretty sure I do that. And here I make the Stardust in attack position. Unfortunately for him, for me, he does have an Earth Synchro monster, and he has a Plague Spreader zombie, so a tuner that can synchro with the Alias here, which was unfortunate for me. So here, in hindsight, I probably should have summoned Fossil Dyna instead of the Barrier Statue, because Fossil Dyna would have prevented the Goyo Guardian from summoning. And funny enough, I guess he could have tributed the Alias. Even if I summon the Fossil Dyna, he can tribute the Alias for a Caius, banish the Fossil Dyna or the Stardust, and then Miracle Fusion for an absolute 0 and destroy my whole board. So he had a lot of line of play, even though he drew the Plague Spreader zombie, or had the Plague Spreader zombie. Okay, so he makes the Goyo Guardian, and instead of attacking the Stardust, he attacks over the Barrier Statue, which I find kind of peculiar, but it makes sense. He probably wanted to resolve the Miracle Fusion the same turn, so he attacks over my Barrier Statue, and I asked him if he wants to take it, and then he says yes, I believe. Takes it, so locking both of us into Earths. I draw for turn, and I'm like, oh shit, I drew my Emergency Call, so I can revive my guys again, which is kind of cool. The cool thing about Emergency Call here is I can actually revive a Full Hom Knight and further negate the Goyo Guardian attack, which is really cool. And then Stardust can negate any backward destruction in case he tries to force it with an MST. I attack over the Barrier Statue, and I set the Emergency Call, I believe. Oh, I see, I see. So I did do a misplay. I normal summoned the Falsodyna, and the emergency call would not get anything because Falsodyna is the fourth monster, and emergency call unfortunately has to special summon two X-Saber monsters. Okay, so cool. I actually did set the emergency call here. Okay. So he draws into a Mirror Force here. He goes straight into battle phase, takes my Falsodyna. So now neither of us can special summon monsters. And he definitely has the option of tributing over the Falsodyna, but I think he wants to lock me out of special summoning. Because right now he has the strongest monster on the board. So now I go straight to my battle phase. I draw a Rescue Cat here, and unfortunately the Falsodyna is locking me out of special summoning. So I have to go to the battle phase, unfortunately, and attack over the Falsodyna. The other play I could have done, let's see. I attacked over the Falsodyna for sure. Yeah, the other play I could have done was make a Bryanak and bounce the Goyo Guardian. However, at this point I'm like, Stardust already declared an attack, and if he makes a Absolute Zero, he can crash the Absolute Zero into my Stardust and blow up my whole field. So that's what I was afraid of. I guess what else I could have done was make a Bryanak. And then when I made a Bryanak, bounce the Goyo, flip the God's Emergency Call, and make Fulham Knight to negate the Absolute Zero. And then Fulham Knight in the following turn can destroy the Absolute Zero, and then Stardust can negate the attack. So that was one way I could have done it. As you can tell, this deck is a more higher ceiling deck. So I'm just like, okay, this is kind of cool deck. The full power of the Earth Synchro deck. So he activates Miracle Fusion here. I fully anticipated that he was going to do this play. And unfortunately, the Fulham Knight can only negate one attack. He also has the ability to like tribute for Kai's too. So he goes battle phase. He attacks over the Stardust to steal it. I activate God's Emergency Call here. At the start step of the battle phase. Oh no, it looks like I let him have it. And then I flip the God's Emergency Call here. We're gonna skip to the part where I flip God's Emergency Call. So then I bring out everything in defense mode, I negate the Absolute Zero, and then he passes his turn with the set card, which was, I believe it was Torrential. That was Mirror Force. Okay, so now I have to deal with the set card and his current monster lineup. I activate Heavy Storm. I did this play because I wanted to force him to activate Stardust and give me back my monster. He chooses to let it resolve. And this is where I do decide to do a lot of combo. I synchro the Fulham Knight that I already negated the attack with into Goyo Guardian, so I can steal back my Stardust. And then, with my Rescue Cat, I can make a double Air Barrel play and have two more tuners. I do that, and I normal summon two Air Bellums. Okay, and then from the double Air Bellum, or the Air Bellum with the Emperor's Blade, I make a Guy of the Force of the Earth. And then I make a Catastrophe with the Raiko and the remaining Air Bellum. Right here, these two. Okay, so now I have a whole Synchro board. I attacked with the Goyo Guardian to my Stardust. I take the Stardust back. And then I attack Catastrophe to the Goyo. And then since none of us have extra water monsters, my Guy of the Force of the Earth is bigger than my Absolute Zero. I negate with Stardust, and then I basically end my turn, right? Yeah, so the thing I was afraid of was if he has another Miracle Fusion. So he could have technically activate Miracle Fusion, crash the Stardust, and then blow up my whole field. But I did have a Solemn set, so I didn't mind putting Stardust to attack mode. But then he draws Brain Control, of course. So I felt pretty confident. I'm like, alright, I have a Solemn set, I have a Stardust, I have a bunch of Synchro monsters. It should be GG's. However, you'll find out what he does. With his 4 cards, he activates Brain Control. I consider whether I want to Solemn. I was afraid that he might have had another Miracle Fusion, so I weighed that option versus allowing him to take my Goyo. I don't have a defensive back row, so if he attacks with the Goyo and steal my cards, again, he can synchro with the Goyo with Plague Spreader and Graveyard. It was like I was not letting him have the Goyo Guardian. So I saw him the Brain Control. I believe I was at, oh, I forgot to do life points. So he takes the 100 life points from the guy of the Force of the Earth. The Catastrophe destroyed the Goyo. The Goyo ran over the Stardust in defense mode, so he's still at 68. And then he has to pay 800 for the Brain Control. 6,000 after the Brain Control. And I also took 16 from Goyo Guardian to the Barrier Statue, and or not Barrier Statue, but Fossil Dyna. And then 18 for the Barrier Statue. That's going to be a total of 3,300 life points. I'm at 2,100 at this point. By Solemn Judgment here, I go down to 1,050. And then he special summons the Prodigy, and he tributes for Caius here. So the Solemn was correct here. But he tributes for Caius, he banishes the biggest monster on the field, which was Goyo, and he top decks for Plague. Makes a Colossal Fighter, unfortunately, and I can't run that over with the monsters I have currently. So I draw, and I draw a Trap. Or no, I draw nothing. I put everything in defense mode. He has Colossal Fighter. He draws it to the Diva that he top decked. He attacks over the Stardust. Stardust dies. I draw a Mirror Force, which is my saving grace. I set the card, and I put Gaia the Force here to attack mode. And then he draws Wing Blast. Instead of attacking with the Colossal Fighter, he puts the Colossal Fighter, or he just sets the Wing Blast and pass. And then I draw, and I draw a Creature Swap. And so I activate Creature Swap so that I can have his Colossal Fighter, because I can't out it. And then he chains the Wing Blast. So unfortunate for me. Chains the Wing Blast, and then he makes my Creature Swap resolve without effect. And then he has no cards in hand. I pass. I still have a Mirror Force to stop the Colossal Fighter from killing me. He draws a Fossil Dyna, and he plays around Mirror Force. So he puts the Fossil Dyna in attack mode. He does not play around Torrential. And then he attacks me, and then since I'm only at 1,050, I have to Mirror Force him. So now I'm in the top deck mode, and yeah. And I draw Mystic Swordsman, and unfortunately Mystic Swordsman only destroys face down defense position monsters, so I'm just like, oh my god. So he draws, and then now he has a Spine Gilman in hand that he draws. Puts the monster to attack position, he attacks. Could have been a Raikou, but it wasn't, or a Hamster. I draw for turn, and I draw Bottomless, and I just scoop. Yeah, so this was a very unlucky game for me. My opponent, game 1, drew absolutely OTK while I drew all monsters. And in the second game, I get blown out by a Brain Control, followed up with Caius, top deck for Plague, and make a Colossal Fighter. And on top of that, he drew into the Wing Blast to out the Creature Swap. And then he draws into a Fossil Dyna, plays around Mirror Force, and attacks me for game. It forces my Mirror Force, and then afterwards I draw 2 other cards that doesn't do anything to the current board. So yeah, so sometimes in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, you can sometimes do all the right plays and then still lose, and that's really no fault of your own. Sometimes you just don't draw well, and so you just have to take those wins as not much of a learning lesson, but more of like a statement about reality. That card games, sometimes you don't draw what you need to draw at specific timing, and your opponent plays or draws really well or plays really well, and you just can't out that at all. So I know that sounded pretty grim, but that's not the point. The point was to drive home the point that you can play really well and still have fun, even though you got sacked. or you just drew really badly. One of those two factors. And the game was really fun. I mean, I was trying to grind it out. I eventually ended up with 4 Synchro Monsters, and he had 4 cards in hand and top deck brain control. It really illustrates how powerful the card is. And even though I was in a winning position, it quickly turned out a tide when they made a Colossal Fighter to pretty much stall the game. But yeah, this was my commentary video for Mondays, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was pretty nasty what happened, but it was also really fun. Playing a fun deck such as my toolbox, taking it all the way to the finals and doing well with it. So I'll definitely have my list out too, so you guys can see what I did or what I played, and maybe you guys can innovate this deck. I think it has a high potential of doing well because for starters, Giant Rat into a Rescue Cat is a really good combo. But yeah, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll have more next Monday. Peace out, guys.